Welcome back, Limitless Souls. Let me start with a simple question. Have you ever had a moment where everything in your life looks fine? Nothing is falling apart, no major crisis. Your life is relatively stable, but inside, something feels strangely quiet. Not peaceful quiet, more like a kind of emptiness. You go through your day, you do what you're supposed to do, you talk to people, you finish responsibilities, and from the outside, nothing seems wrong. Yet somewhere inside, you feel disconnected. It's a strange feeling because you almost feel guilty for it. You might even say to yourself, why do I feel like this? My life is fine. That question shows up more often than people think. A lot of people experience this, but they rarely talk about it openly because it feels so confusing. If something is clearly wrong in life, sadness makes sense, right? If you're going through loss, stress, or conflict, emotional pain is expected. But when life looks stable and the emptiness still appears, it feels harder to explain. So instead of exploring it, many people try to ignore it, to brush it off. They distract themselves. More work, more entertainment, scrolling, staying busy, anything that keeps the mind occupied long enough so that the question doesn't come back. But the feeling usually returns, sometimes quietly, and sometimes strongly. And when it does, it often raises a deeper question. What exactly is missing? One reason this feeling appears is because stability and fulfillment are not the same thing. Stability means your life structure works, your responsibilities are being handled, your basic needs are covered. There's order in your day to day routine. Fulfillment is something different. Fulfillment is about meaning. It's about whether your life feels connected to something that matters to you. A person can have stability without meaning. In fact, that combination is more common than people realize. Think about how many people wake up every day and follow a routine they've followed for years. Wake up, go to work, complete tasks, come home, repeat, right? Nothing about this routine is necessarily wrong. It can even be responsible and admirable. But if that routine never connects to something deeper inside you, over time, it can start to feel mechanical. Like life is moving forward, but you're not fully inside it. This is where the emptiness begins to appear. It's not that your life is bad, it's that your life might be functioning without meaning. Another factor that contributes to this feeling is the difference between activity and engagement. Many people are extremely busy. Their schedules are full, their days are packed with responsibilities. They might even feel exhausted by the end of the day. But busyness doesn't automatically create engagement. Engagement happens when your attention, curiosity, and energy are involved in what you are doing. We can all work 10 hours a day and still feel disengaged if the work doesn't connect to our deeper interests or values, right? In contrast, someone can spend a few hours doing something meaningful and feel energized afterwards. The emptiness often appears when life becomes purely task oriented. You're completing things, but you're not connecting with them. Your mind knows how to do the tasks, but your inner life isn't participating. A lot of people arrive at this point because they've spent many years following expectations. Expectations can come from family, culture, school, or social comparison. Finish your studies, find a stable career, be responsible, get married, build a respectable life. Again, none of these expectations are inherently negative. They exist for practical reasons. They create order in society and stability for individuals. The issue always appears when expectations replace curiosity. Curiosity is what guides you toward things that genuinely interest you. When curiosity disappears from life, people often find themselves living according to plans that made sense years ago but no longer feel alive in the present. And then that's when the emptiness can appear. It's not because life is subjectively bad, but because your internal compass hasn't been consulted for a very long time. There's another dimension to this experience that often goes unnoticed. It's emotional suppression. Many people grow up learning that certain emotions should be minimized or ignored. Expressions like, you have to be strong, don't be dramatic, or just move on, are very common in many families, right? Over time, a person can become very good at pushing emotions aside. They become functional, calm, responsible. But emotional life doesn't disappear when it's suppressed. It becomes quieter. And when emotional life becomes quiet for too long, a person may start to feel empty rather than expressive. This isn't because they lack emotions. It's because their emotional system has been trained not to surface them. When emotional expression decreases, life can start to feel flat. It's not painful, but it's not vibrant either. It's just neutral. And extended neutrality can feel like emptiness. Now let's connect this to awareness and awakening. When people begin becoming more self aware, they often start noticing feelings that were previously hidden under routine. For years, someone might operate on autopilot. Their attention stays focused on tasks and obligations. But when awareness grows, something really interesting happens. The distractions become easier to see. You start noticing when you're going through emotions rather than living intentionally. You notice when conversations feel superficial. You notice when parts of your life feel out of alignment. And sometimes that awareness reveals the emptiness that was already there. This can feel really uncomfortable because awareness removes the ability to ignore certain things. But it's also an opportunity because once the emptiness becomes visible, it can be explored instead of avoided. Sometimes this emptiness appears during periods of transition. For example, when a person begins questioning parts of their identity, maybe the career that they once pursued, they no longer feel aligned now. Maybe the social circles they belong to now feels different. Maybe their priorities are shifting. And during transitions like this, the old structures that once gave life meaning may weaken before new ones are formed. That in between stage often feels really empty. And it's not because nothing will replace it, but because the previous structure has dissolved before the new direction becomes clear. This phase requires patience. Many people try to feel emptiness quickly. with new commitments or distractions. Sometimes it's necessary to sit with the uncertainty long enough to understand what is actually changing. If someone feels this emptiness, the question is not what is wrong with me. I think a more useful question might be what in my life currently feels meaningful and what feels mechanical. This question invites honest reflection because meaning often appears in places that engage curiosity, contribution, or growth. Curiosity is when something genuinely interests you. Contribution is when you feel your action help or influence others in a meaningful way. Growth is when you feel yourself learning or evolving. And when these elements appear in life, engagement increases, and engagement gradually replaces emptiness. Feeling empty, even when life looks fine, does not automatically mean something is damaged or broken inside you. Sometimes it just means awareness has increased. Sometimes it means old structure are losing its relevance. Sometimes it means meaning hasn't been explored deeply yet. So instead of rushing to eliminate the feeling, it can be helpful to treat it as information, a signal that your inner life is asking deeper questions. Questions about meaning, identity, curiosity, direction. Those questions are uncomfortable, right? But they're also the beginning of more conscious living. And if you're in that space right now, you're not alone. Because many people pass through this stage quietly. The difference is whether they ignore it or listen to what it's trying to reveal. So, if you're one of those people who feel this emptiness while their life is generally okay, don't feel bad about feeling that. That's actually a good signal that your path is maybe not what you think it is. And that is exciting, right? You will be able to discover what is your interest really? What will drive your soul? And I'm excited for you, Limitless Soul. Thank you for listening.